Hi everyone. Today we're answering your questions, and the question today is, can you catch anxiety? Hi, it's Mark Morley here, the anxiety expert from Newcastle Hypnotherapy. And today's question, we love your questions, so please keep them coming in. Thank you. You've got lots of ways of sending them. You can jump onto our website, the Newcastle Hypnotherapy website, and send me a question. You can follow me on Facebook and send me questions that way. We also have the YouTube channel. You can jump on there and leave a comment or send us a message. So this is a really good question, and the answer is quite interesting as well. Can you catch anxiety? So first of all, I've got to state that anxiety isn't infectious. It's not like a cold or a cough or something that you're going to pick up just because you've been around somebody else for a short period of time. So it's not that sort of can you catch anxiety. However, a lot of the clients who come and see me ask me the question, have I picked this up from my mother, my brother, my sister, somebody else, because they've got severe anxiety? And the answer is yes, you can. Typically, we associate anxiety to have happened after some sort of trauma. Maybe we've had a horrible time in our life. We've had a bad experience with somebody. We've been attacked. We've had a car crash. These are all things that can push people in to have anxiety. And it's quite easy to sort that out. But the number of clients who come and see me who've not had that sort of trauma is getting higher and higher every day. So it's really interesting that we do seem to pick it up around other people, and I'll explain exactly why that is. When we're born as babies, we're born as a blank canvas. We've not given any phobias or fears. And then all of a sudden, we start to become afraid of spiders and snakes and things we see on the telly when there's no reason not to do that. And the reason why we do that is we have this lovely system called patterning or modeling within us, which is how we learn all this communication, how we do all these great things. And suddenly we'll pick up a phobia of say, spiders, for example, because maybe our mother did or our father did. So we've got this really good ability to pattern, to model, and this is what we do. We start to pick up other things. Now, I'm sure for me, anxiety came along because my mother still is anxious in her 80s now. Okay, as a kid, I'm sure I picked that up and I had lots of problems. But it's funny how we can pick that up from people around us. So as an example, not so long ago, I met a lady who started to walk with a funny leg, as though she had a limp. And I said to her, what did you do with your leg? And she said, I don't know, but I've just recently got married and my partner has had this limp for 6 months. She'd started to pattern it and we did some work and it disappeared. And this happens quite a lot. So it's interesting that we've got to be careful about what we take in as information and what happens around us. And I'll explain a little bit at the end of this video how we can protect ourselves against sort of things. But we do see this repeatedly. So as a really good real life example, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I had a lovely gentleman came to see me and he just picked up anxiety in a certain situation. Just whenever he went to do something, the anxiety would kick in. It was rather irrational. And we quickly sorted that. One of the things I noticed with this guy was that his anxiety level was very, very low. It wasn't a major thing compared to a lot of the clients that I see. But one of the things he was doing, he was talking at 1,000,000 miles an hour and he was breathing very shallowly in the top of his chest. And this is a common thing with people with anxiety. They have very distinct patterns that they follow. And if we breathe very shallowly, we're pushing way too much CO2 into the system, as I keep saying all the time. This can push anxiety levels up. But he also spoke so fast, it kind of wore me out working with him. And this is what we did. We taught him how to slow down, how to change. And I'd imagine he's picked that up from somewhere else because he's a little bit nervous. However, then a few weeks later, another client comes to me who's part of the same family. And she was 100 times worse. In fact, she sat there for 3 minutes, told me about a problem, and I felt exhausted trying to keep up with her. And she was talking so fast and breathing so shallowly. And very quickly, just by changing that breathing pattern and slowing down those speech patterns, things started to change. And we've seen amazing results over the week. So quite often, if there is a parent who's very anxious, that is going to affect the child and the rest of the people around us. And although it's not infectious, we do kind of catch it. We can take it on that way. And that's a really interesting point, because then if a parent is anxious, what does that do to the children? as he knocks the camera. If the parent's anxious, what does that do to the children? Now, regularly I get phone calls from parents who are saying to me, I've got a child who's very anxious. Can I bring them in? And if they're under 18, of course, the parent has to be there. The game changes a little bit in the treatment that I do is then I then also have to look at the parent. And quite often the parent is very anxious, but they're not aware of it. Because people stay in that state of anxiety for so long, they don't really notice that they're in there, that they're anxious. To them, that's a normal. And then they wonder why the child suddenly becomes anxious. And quite often they amplify the anxiety level so it becomes bigger. And in that case, I then have to teach techniques and tools which can very quickly put people back in control for both the child and the adult. And that's one of the interesting things with therapy. Lots of people say, oh, do it much, much cheaper for the children, which we love to do, or for pensioners or people who need some support. But we are then having to deal with two people at the same time, which makes the job a little bit harder, but it's more than doable. Another example of maybe catching anxiety is I had a lovely lady. Well, the story was I had the family get in touch with me about 6-7 weeks ago. This lovely lady, I was told, had been out for a lovely meal. She'd got food poisoning. Took a couple of days to get over the food poisoning, but then she had severe anxiety of both food, of going out, but then also of other situations in life. The anxiety was very, very high. And this is interesting. You get food poisoning. Does food poisoning cause anxiety? Well, the food poisoning was a form of trauma, which pushed things forward. But what had happened there is because when people get food poisoning, they usually take antibiotics, or the food poisoning totally changes the flora in the gut. This really changes mental health. So all we had to do in this situation is we taught the usual tools that we do to put people back in control. But then we also got a full food sensitivity test done, which then we looked at the gut to see what was going on. And very quickly we could see we needed to put some proper probiotics in, not these silly drinks from the supermarket. We got the right probiotics in there. We got the right supplements. We changed the therapy slightly. And 4 to 5 weeks later, a lovely review pops up on Google. Thank you very much for doing this. It's totally reversed things back around. I've got my life back. It's a common sort of thing that we see. So you could also say that's a form of catching anxiety, but again, it's not infectious. It's just the trauma had caused a problem and it messed up the gut flora. So really, yes, we could say that anxiety is kind of something you can catch from other people, but it's not in the way that we think it is. And we get asked this question all the time. So one of the questions I then get is, what can we do to protect ourselves from catching these sort of things from other people? Can we use some sort of protection? Are there certain tools that we can use? And yes, there are. And especially with the COVID situation, there's lots of people that we're speaking to who are not really following the news, but they're picking up on the energy that's floating around is probably the best way I could do it. They're feeling down, they're feeling anxious, they're feeling stressed because everybody else is. And this is pushing lots and lots of people over the edge, just to the point where they're having to pick up the phone. And this is why at the moment we are so busy. We're struggling to fit people in within 2 weeks. So first of all, we have to kind of protect ourselves from this sort of negativity. And there's various different ways that we can do it. Some people like to meditate and they put a protective field around them. One of the things I suggest people do is they get into a self-hypnosis state and just imagine they've got this color cloak or an egg-shaped aura all the way around them that just protects them from everything, from feeling down to infections and everything else. And it seems to be that it does boost up the immune system, but it makes us feel better and stops us getting into that state. The other thing to do, which is quite similar, is what are you doing every day to feel good? Are you getting out for a walk? Are you taking your supplements? Are you taking time for yourself? Are you reading something positive? Are you using some sort of tools or routine to keep yourself feeling positive and feeling good? It's very often that we do have negative people around us, especially at the moment. Other people are struggling, needing help. And that helps to focus on other people, but we need to focus on ourselves. And very often when people start the Anxiety Freedom Program with us for their anxiety treatment, we teach them the tools to feel good from something from the past. We teach them how to get into that good mental state and to be spending 10, 15 minutes a day listening to either their hypnotic track or doing something else just to get into that good mental state before they go out into the world. And it's really funny that things such as hypnosis, self-hypnosis, and tapping are a great way to push yourself forward to feel so much better. So that's really important that we do things like that. I suffer from anxiety depression now, but I'm still working, but I'm struggling at times. It's very common. That's a good question. Thanks to Penny there. It's quite common that people do have anxiety and they're pushing themselves through. Now, one of the things is I say to people, if you do have severe anxiety, you don't just want to sit about and just focus on the anxiety. You want to focus on something else out there, which is why getting out and volunteering or working, looking after your family is a really good thing to do. But it is so important, it really is, that we're doing something every day to protect our mental health, to push ourselves forward, to taking those supplements, to looking after our diet, for moving forward. And this is the whole point is that either you get out there and you find some help, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and there's lots of free tips there, or you work within some sort of group or have some sort of support. Don't just leave it as it is, because if you do, it usually gets much, much worse. So there's a lot that we can be doing. Again, the YouTube channel's got lots and lots of tips. Deep breathing is very important. EFT tapping, this sort of silly thing that you see people doing, is really important. Getting out for exercise, reading something positive, getting something inspirational coming in off YouTube every morning. These are all things that we can be doing, and we need to build ourselves up. Protecting ourselves from anxiety is rather like going down the gym and building up a muscle, and that if we do the right things, we'll feel so much better and we'll keep moving on rather than let it stay still and then starting to get worse. So thank you so much to everybody who's been sending us these questions. Remember, you can contact us on YouTube. You can contact me through Facebook. You can go to the Newcastle Hypnotherapy website. The links are all below. So please do that. Keep your questions coming. And if you'd like a free strategy session with me, for the people who would like to come and have some private one-to-one therapy time with me and really work to get rid of the anxiety and stress problems an awful lot faster, there's a link below to book a free strategy call, and you can see a lot of the success stories on that link as well. We've got some really good reviews on Google, Facebook, and all over the place, and we like to see that because the whole point is we like to get the results for people. So thank you so much for all your questions. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll have lots more videos coming to see you soon. Take care and be good.